Oh, God. I had to work from home today. Oh, my God. Turn this fucking song off. I'm going to kill you.
This is the best division in football, Tori. Take that step back. We are seeing the true quarterback that he really is, which he is not a very good quarterback.
Welcome to the Man Now, where we taking over. It's time to give you them facts. Won't miss a game or two, cause we here for you and we reporting all of them stats. We coming to you live to keep you updated. Broadcast across the country, we the fan favorites. Break the volume to the max and don't nobody touch it. We cross the topics off the list, addressing every subject. So if you ain't got a clue, then you can tune in and give it 24 hours and we back again. Breaking news, new scoops, we the top dogs. From the fields to the courts, we report it all. Buzzer beaters through your speakers, we the ones to call. Trust us for the news if it's got a ball. Giving you the top stories cause we love the turf. Tell a friend to tune in and where you heard it first. Yeah, you're listening to the Man Now. We taking over, it's time to give you them stats. Yeah, you listen to the Man Now. Miss a game or two cause we reporting all of them facts. Yeah, you listen to the Man Now. We taking over, it's time to give you them facts. Turn the speakers up a little loud. Miss a game or two cause we reporting all of them stats. Cause you listen to the Man Hour.
And welcome to the Man Hour. Welcome to the best damn sports radio show on the planet. I am your host, BC Brandon Combs. If you have not done so yet, I see you out there, rule the jungle. I know we've got Michelle will be joining the chat. I know we got Drew will be joining the chat. We got all sorts of things to talk about tonight. But if you have not yet done so, please click like, share, and subscribe on whichever platform you're watching us on, which is apparently not Facebook because apparently we're too good for Facebook. So if you're watching us on Roku TV, like what you see, you can head over to youtube.com. If you're on Belly Up Sports, head over to youtube.com/Man Hour. You can subscribe for as little as $2.99 a month. Become a member of Man Hour Nation. Once you're a member, head on over to manhourradio.com. Click on the merchandise tab. Get yourself some hot Man Hour gear. We've got hats, shirts, hoodies. Got that beastie gear, baby. But let me welcome the peanut butter to my ladies. My guy, Michael Buckheiser. What's going on, Buck?
What is going on, Combsy? What's up, Man Hour Nation? I'm in the guest seat tonight, and I love it. So I can say whatever I want, when I want, how I want. That's what we do. That's what we do anytime, Combs, right? Because this is the best.
I was gonna say, don't you do that all the time?
Show, anyways, live, raw, and uncut.
You picked the damn Lions to win the NFC North for 5 straight years. They've won like 3 games total.
Hey, you know what? I've been paying. I've been getting paid to get my picks wrong for the last 5 years. So slow it down, Combs. Slow it down, baby.
See, I knew it. I knew you K-State guys were not legit, just like all these NFL head coaches. But before we get into it, because we're going to get into it, let's welcome a very special guest to the show. Speaking of the Lions, speaking of losing a lot, speaking of getting paid to lose, he's about to lose a little bit now. Luke G, what's going on, brother?
What's up,
Forward down the field. What's going on, gentlemen? Ready to talk some ball, man. You know, talk some serious sports, man.
So that's good because we got some serious sports to talk, and I just want to hop into it, Luke. Look, I've been listening to it all day because I had to work from home. We had like 149 inches of snow today.
I know,
it was stupid. It was unbelievable. So I worked from home, and while I'm working, I had ESPN on in the background, and I was just cringing because you can just tell that it's just so driven by motives and politics and stuff like that nobody actually starts talking truth. So Luke G, let's start talking some truth, all right? Let's have a good conversation where we could talk back and forth, right? And for obvious reasons, you know, you've got myself, you've got Buck, you know, obviously if we start talking about this subject, it's just going to be, oh, well, you know, what do you guys know? You guys are blinded by whatever, you know, you wouldn't know what it's like to be a black person in any realm, right? So, Luke, let me ask you. Brian Flores files a lawsuit against the NFL, against 3 teams, the Dolphins, the Giants, and the Broncos. And he's saying that they are running sham interviews across the NFL, the Rooney Rule, right? So let me get your interpretation or how do you feel about what Brian Flores is coming at here?
For me, I look at it and I keep coming to this point of the word coaching, right? Coaching is a skill set, something you actually do. Like when you cook, nobody says, oh, you're a cook. That's what you do. You cooking is something that you do. I look at Brian Flores, and I think there's some merit in somewhat, but overall, for me, I think his case is weak. And the reason I say that is because when you look at what he's claiming, it's a private firm, right? I've been in interviews that I knew I wasn't going to get. I'm pretty sure y'all have been to interviews that you knew you wasn't going to get. It's not a matter of saying that. Now, is he right that things need to change in terms of the system? Yes. But is he right that he's been discriminated against? Well, I don't know if he's paying attention, but he was one of those coaches who got a head coaching job after having a successful season as a defensive coordinator on the Patriots. And so when that comes up and you step into a courtroom, it's going to be a little bit different. I do believe that there's still a lot of work to be done here in this country. There's a lot of work to be done in the workforce. And I do believe that there's a lot of systematic things going on. But where I kind of get confused at is this part where he says that he was paid to tank games, or he was requested to take games, and he was going to get $100,000 for it. But I think there was some part where he said, and then after he got fired, it was cited that it was due to his record. Now, see, there comes a conflict. You can't tell me to tank for a season, and you're going to pay me to do so, and then I have a bad season, and then you tell me, oh, your record's the problem. The other issue is this. If I'm running a business and I ask you to do something, and it's not going to be against the law, it's not going to set you back, and you don't do it, that's technically insubordination. So at that point, since you want to do what you want, you better do what you want and be good at it. Otherwise, you're out of here. And that's the reality of it. There's so many ways to look at it. I just think when you look at Brian Flores as a whole, I think his case is weak. But I do think the goal is to bring more attention to the fact that the system does need to change.
And that's, where I'm at, right? Because so, if you are my boss and you come to me and you say, hey, look, you need to do this and you need to do this my way, and I don't do it and I don't do it your way, you're probably going to fire me. I mean, that's probably going to happen no matter who you are, no matter what job you're in. If you're not listening to the guy who signs your paycheck and you don't do the things he tells you to do, as long as they're lawful and it's not going to harm you in any way, then you need to do it. The other thing that I want to touch on real quick is the Rooney Rule. Now, we've had successful black head coaches in this league. I mean, we got one in Pittsburgh. I think he might be the most tenured head coach in the NFL. Is he not?
I know he's one of the more winningest because he's never had like a losing season.
Yeah, he's like 16 years in, though, isn't he?
I thought it was
he's a lot of years in.
I think Bill Belichick is longer, though, right?
Okay, so Bill Belichick, and then it's.
But Bill Belichick had a losing season. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season.
Right. And that's the thing. Tomlin is a very successful head coach. We've had, Lovie Smith was a very successful head coach with the Chicago Bears. He got fired after a winning season. You look at, we look at Herm Edwards. We look at what was the guy down there in Indianapolis? Won the
Jim
Super
Caldwell?
Bowl. No, the one won the Super Bowl. Tony Dungy. We've had Tony Dungy and Denny Green, but Tony Dungy and my boy Lovie Smith were the first two African American head coaches to coach against each other in the Super Bowl. So, I don't understand the acumen that we're going to come out here and say that this is a racially motivated thing, because that I don't buy. Now, the Rooney Rule itself, I've argued this since its inception, right? Is that so right now you have no choice but to give an interview to a minority head coach, a prospect. And even if you know who you want to hire, somebody's going to fit your system. So if I'm hiring somebody and I've got Luke G and I've got Buck, and I know Luke G runs a 4-3 defense, but I want to run a 3-4, and that's what Buck runs. Buck also shares the same philosophies I do. Buck also is willing to go out and build around Justin Fields for me. I'm probably going to lean towards Buck, right? And it has nothing to do with the color of his skin. It has the fact to do with that he shares in what I want moving forward. So with the Rooney Rule, what that does is say, now I want Buck, but even though I know I'm hiring Buck tomorrow, I still haven't interviewed a minority head coach. So I'm going to bring in Luke G just for an interview, even though I know I'm not going to hire him. To me, that's more of a slap in the face of the minority prospect than it is for anybody, right?
Which is why they need to fix that problem, and that's the issue.
No, I agree.
They need to expand on it,
right? And that's the thing. So, like, where do you separate the difference between? And I'm asking you this, Luke G. Where do you separate the difference between hiring a coach who is more suited for the position that you're looking for because you know what you're looking for in a head coach, and hiring a coach because of the color of his skin? If I hire Brian Flores because he's a black head coach and I want to, make a point that there is no systemic racism, so I'm going to bring in Brian Flores even though he's not the guy I want, and I'm going to fire him in 2 years, as opposed to hiring the guy that I really want, Jim Harbaugh, and he would have been my coach for the next 10 to 15 years. Where do you distinguish that?
See, for me, I think it's not necessarily looking at it in terms of hiring the person for race. The Rooney Rule was designed to get the person in the room, because what Rudy was thinking was, there are some people that if you just interview them, and this is the first step that we should probably focus on a little bit more, which is, why did the Rooney Rule have to be created in the first place? Because people were not being provided opportunities. They were always, and it's not just there, it happens in the players too, right? When you look at how the draft worked for the longest, the only quarterbacks who are African-American that get drafted were often the guys who were mobile, right? Michael Vick, mobile. Name a guy who was taken first overall who wasn't mobile. Even that trash guy that was taken, Jamarcus Russell, had a mobility to him, and he got taken first overall. And they started making the argument that, if you get the African-American quarterback, he's going to be more athletic, he's going to run around, he's going to make everything look great. And if you get the Caucasian quarterback, you're going to get a guy who's smart. He's going to be the smart guy. So they were doing this kind of stuff back then. I think what Brian Flores was trying to point out in his lawsuit, where sometimes a lawsuit isn't necessarily directly about the direct topic, but to bring to the surface a system that is flawed, a system that needs to be improved upon and expanded upon. The Rooney Rule only existed because, guess what? There's some coaches who really thought they were going to go with one coach, and the guy came in there and blew him away in the interview, and they signed him. It's the reason why
Mike Tomlin was one of those guys too, wasn't he? Mike Tomlin was a product of the Rooney Rule.
Well, Mike Tomlin, I don't think necessarily was a product of the Rooney Rule. Mike Tomlin was always sought after. They tried to get him there a few times because Bill Cowher really liked him, and it was a little bit more challenging. But when you look at Mike Tomlin, this is where it's going to get a little bit more complex. Is Mike Tomlin has to be like a winning coach. You have fans who were calling for him to be fired every year, and you have media who's being called for him to be fired every year. But the difference between the Steelers and the rest of the NFL is the Steelers have had 3 head coaches in their entire existence. And so now when you talk about them, they have longevity. Bill Cowher didn't have a bunch of winning seasons. I mean, Mike Tomlin has probably been the most winningest coach in Steelers history. And so when I get back to Brian Flores, the issue that I think that he's trying to do is to bring to the forefront that this system has failed. Don't have me waste my time in trouble coming here when you've already hired the guy. That's what he's saying is the problem. Why are you giving me an interview for a guy you already hired? However, I still think that the lawsuit will fall in court. I don't think it will hold up, because the reality is this. You're going to need a lot of people to come behind you with receipts. I know that they said Hugh Jackson got some receipts. I know that they said that another person is saying that he witnessed the offer of $100,000 to Tank as a receipt. I get all those, but you need more firepower. You got the Lions coach who went there, Aaron Glenn, and said that they spoke for 6 hours and he enjoyed himself and he didn't have any problems. So these things all play a part in it. And I think overall, you're going to have to come to a point where you got to change the system. You have to.
So, Luke, let me jump into this conversation here, just because, like, I know we are going to talk about Hugh Jackson later in the show, and I've been taking it all in all day. I had a morning show about it. I spoke on it many, many times, but then I got to looking at these said receipts, right? Just like you said, these receipts pretty much have no backbone, no, you know, I mean, they have a backbone per se, but what is it to say like, you know, those are all not manufactured anyways, just to, you know, make Flores come back to New England type of thing. But I digress from that. Let's talk about this whole tanking aspect of it. Hugh Jackson come out and said, what, in 2016, he was offered to, or he was told to tank by the Browns, right?
Right.
Then if it was such a bad thing, why was he still the head coach in 2017? Why was he still the head coach in 2018? If Brian Flores was told to tank, why did he come back the next season and become still the head coach at Miami? So you guys are literally,
Hugh Jackson was making that money for 3 years. they were terrible.
Well, but that doesn't help. That does not help your case. When you say back in 2016 you were told to tank, and then the next year you go 0-16, and then the following year you go 2-5-1, it like you have no credibility to me whatsoever. If you were just now coming out and saying this, what kind of morals do you have? You are basically just jumping on a ship at this point and say, "Oh, let's keep rowing this down the boat." Because it doesn't make no sense.
The incentivizing losses to me is a completely different topic, right? So, and I definitely want to dive into that. Because I think that Stephen Ross should be forced, if it's proven to be true, because I've from what I've heard is that there is reports that there is actually witnesses to him offering this. If so, he and any owner that is proven to have done this, because Hugh Jackson said he has documented proof as well, they should be forced to sell their team. Stephen Ross,
yeah, exactly.
Stephen Ross owns a sports betting book.
Oh, that's a good point.
You can't be a part. You cannot, and not only that, but I mean that's. I mean, you can't be a part of that.
Well,
the
yeah.
NFL can't. I mean, that is something that cannot be a thing. Like for so many reasons, morally and not only that, but how can you save? As the NFL now, not Stephen Ross, as the NFL, how can you save the integrity of the game knowing you're still allowing an owner? And I trust me, I know the NFL doesn't care because we still got freaking Dan Snyder owning teams in Washington, naming them stupid names, which we'll talk about later. But I know the NFL doesn't care, but how do you have an owner that is knowingly involved in throwing games?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. It's a good point that you bring up. I did not know that Stephen Ross owned a batting thing, because at that point it looks like you're trying to push the books or something. But the other issue that runs into it is this: let's say he didn't own the betting thing, right? I remember the Colts were sucking for luck. Remember that whole campaign, and it really looked like they was losing it. Like, I was watching games where I'm like, they're kicking butt the first half, and I'm like, y'all just gonna go away from everything, huh? There was players who they alleged were so hurt could not play, but I'm watching them on jet skis, and I'm like, what the hell?
Lions been tanking for 40 years.
The devil's a liar. There you go, Combs. You can't
slow it down, baby.
You can't help yourself. I know you excited that they got the general manager and head coach up out of there. I know that. But that just means that we're going to beat on you some more. That's all it does.
That means you're going to beat. You haven't beaten us in 2 years.
Yeah.
And not only that, the Lions lose Matt Stafford. He goes on to play in a Super Bowl. They get Jared Goff, who was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. He can't win more than 3 games.
Well, I mean, we're one of the youngest teams, but it happens. But
let's get back on track.
You bring a good point up, though. You bring a good point up, but I just don't think that they should have to sell the team because they're tanking. Some people think this is a real strategy. The problem is if you are incentivizing the tanking and you are trying to if you are trying to incentivize it, I guess it would be like it's something that goes against NFL rules that says you can't pay for that. Because I've seen some teams literally legitimately suck to get certain quarterbacks and stuff. I've seen this happen.
Yep.
And they've done it on purpose. To me, them paying them to do it is not the biggest issue for me. The problem that I have is you're now forcing teams to interview people when your mind is made up on who you want. If I want freaking Scarlett Johansson, damn it, I want Scarlett Johansson. Don't make me go on a date with
Alicia Keys.
Watch your tongue now.
Charlize Theron for like to me, Charlize Theron is absolutely beautiful.
Hey, your wife's listening.
My wife knows this. She's actually her female crush.
He's like, my wife is Charlize Theron.
Yeah, exactly, right? But I think we have to figure out a way to expand upon this so that it's fair and it's equitable. And I think that's the hard part. The hard part is doing it. To me, when they started incentivizing, like, oh, you get a draft pick for hiring an African American coach or GM, I was like, oh, and it worked. It worked because the Dolphins did just that. They hired him, got an extra draft pick. And voila. So these things that occur are happening because they're trying to fix a old problem.
The other problem with incentivizing it too, and we haven't touched on this yet, but the other problem with incentivizing it is how long does a head coach stand to be a head coach with one team if he's consistently having losing seasons? Like you're like, here, I'm going to incentivize you to lose, but at the end you're going to be the fall guy too.
Yeah, and that's the part that becomes a problem, because if the thing was I wanted you to tank and he did, but he didn't tank enough, you can't turn around and be like, "Well, the record, this is why you're letting you go." No, right. Doesn't work like that. And I don't think that the Dolphins are the first to do this. I think there are certain owners who have a lot of pride in their team and they're not paying the tank, i.e. the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones don't want to lose to him. Is like freaking getting like shot multiple times. He does not want to lose. And so there are some owners who really and truly want to win because they love football. But I think in the case of Brian Flores, he's going to need some more people to jump in there. He's going to need an Eric Bieniemy to jump in there. He's going to need other people to jump in and say, this is happening to me. Like, what's the guy named Todd Bowles? But in my eyes, Todd Bowles should never be another head coach. I saw enough.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like you've got to, look, I get that the percentages of black players to percentages of black head coaches is way low, right? And I've heard the argument that how do you motivate black players if you consistently hire white head coaches and all that? And I listened to it all day today on ESPN. And to me, it's like no matter what color a head coach's skin is, if he's a motivator of men, he's the right guy for a head coaching position. And if you hire a Todd Bowles, which is why I asked you earlier, like, how do I, differentiate the right guy from just taking a guy of color so that I can say, hey, I hired a head coach of color? Because you've watched guys like Todd Bowles, who was just, he was a joke. You've watched guys who just came in and they failed. I've watched guys like Matt Nagy come in and fail. Nobody's complaining that Matt Nagy got fired. You know what I mean? Like, right. I think Flores, I would have loved, and I said this as soon as Flores got fired in Miami, I would have loved for Flores to have been the head coach of the Chicago Bears.
But I thought Flores should have been fired. That's like
for the reason they fired him, yes, but not. The guy was winning games with a shit roster.
Pause. Hang on. Why do you think he should be fired? Because he won 8 games in a row?
No. I think he should have been fired because, to me, my standard has always been the same. You get 3 years to get this thing right. Now, when I find out afterwards that he was told to tank the first year, that kind of sucks, right? But my original thought was, here's a NFL league that has changed to allow 14 teams in the playoff, and you're not one of them. And you've been here 3 years. And there's a lot of other teams who had a bunch of other injuries, and they didn't have a losing record. They didn't have to suffer like this, and they still made the playoffs.
Have the Steelers won in the last 3 years? Have they been prominent, force in the AFC in the last 3 years?
No, but they still made the playoffs.
Yeah. Playoffs is deemed successful, Combs.
Even if you go one and done and you started out 12-0, you finished 12-5, and you tank in the playoffs.
Still made the playoffs, right? Still won those 12 games.
I agree. No, look, Mike Tomlin should be the head coach. Mike Tomlin should be the head coach until he doesn't want to be that coach. To go that many years and never have a losing season means that you're the guy.
Right.
Like I'm not clamoring for Mike Tomlin to lose his job. So don't be. I'm just asking.
One year
if you go by the rule of 3.
1 year he did it with a quarterback that I'm still trying to figure out where he found the guy named Dustin Duck. Where did you find this guy at? You were still winning games with a 5th or 4th quarterback named Dustin Duck.
Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Let me ask you this then, Luke G. So Bill Belichick sends out this text that kicked this whole thing off, right? Should Bill Belichick be looked at differently because of this? Like, did he kick this off? Was this something where Bill Belichick is like a snake in the grass who knows what's going on and is just cool with it? Or was he legitimately going to congratulate one of his former coordinators and accidentally text the wrong former coordinator?
Let's be honest. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think one of the reasons why Bill Belichick wears the hoodies because he's been drinking all damn day. And and let's just be honest. So yeah, I think it's very possible for an older guy who's been drinking all damn day to send the wrong damn text. I just think it's possible. And not to mention, what are you going to do? You can't scrub the NFL of his history. His history is too strong. And so even if you don't like it, you can't do anything. And besides, he sent a text message by accident. People do this every single day. Trust me, I know. And so I'm just saying, no, I don't think he kicked it off. I think the issue was, as Brian Flores is sitting there thinking he's got a fair shot to find out that, wait, somebody's already hired, then why am I here? I think he grew irritated as he looked at all these other openings, and he got to the point in his head where he realized, I'm not going to get opportunity. Well, newsflash, Anthony Lynn didn't either. Because generally what happens in the NFL, now this part I do find intriguing, right? And this is one of the things that I'm pretty sure that his lawyer is going to argue. In the NFL, often when an African-American coach is somehow let go from his head coach position, they often go back to being coordinators, and then they rarely get a second chance in most cases. However, whereas a Caucasian head coach gets let go, and they instantly get another head coaching job. Perfect example. And I hate to say this because I don't know how it happened, but like, let's go down a list of some people who really suck and got other opportunities. Like Dan Quinn. I think he's going to be a head coach again, and I don't think he should.
Who's going to make that hire? God, please let it be the Vikings.
I know, Saints, right? right. But I think you look at that, and then you look at the quarterback position too. Like, I don't know how in the hell does Josh McCown keep getting jobs? He's been on almost every team in the NFL. But meanwhile, you can't get people like Colin Kaepernick to get back in, and he tried to bring up.
No, stop. Colin Kaepernick does not want to be in the NFL.
That's just not true. Why do you believe that?
What do you mean that's not true? Okay. Colin Kaepernick had the utmost opportunity to get back in the league, and what did he do right before the tryout? Oh, I'm going to switch the spot. I'm going to do this. He didn't want to be there. He wants to be in the limelight. He doesn't want to be in the NFL. Colin Kaepernick lost his job with the San Francisco 49ers not because he took a knee, but because his record took a dive in his next 2 years after being a Super Bowl quarterback.
I agree that he lost his job with the 49ers because the record took a dive. I agree with that. But I do believe he wants to be in the NFL. And in fact, most NFL draft prospects often move their stuff quite often. And NFL teams have moved things before too. Okay. It's the nature of the beast.
Okay, so I see what you're saying, but the NFL set this up for him. They set a combine up for him and to film it, and the NFL had their film crew. He threw a fit because he wanted his own film crew, and then he wanted to move locations at the very last second. Like, it wasn't like 2 or 3 days in advance. It was like 2 hours before.
All about the spotlight. And had nothing to do with being a quarterback in the NFL.
But the difference is this. This is the difference in my opinion. When I go through and I look at people like Josh McCown, I can go to Sean Hill, I can go to John Kitna. There were so many of these other lame duck quarterbacks who were grossly underperforming and not doing well, and they're constantly getting multiple jobs.
I see what you're saying there.
Constantly getting it. Tyrod Taylor, why is he not getting multiple jobs? Why is
Geno Smith is the backup quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks?
Okay, so Tyrod Taylor.
That's a terrible point.
What do you mean? Geno Smith is a terrible quarterback. Tyrod Taylor is a journeyman backup at
Josh
best.
McCown is a terrible quarterback.
Oh, Josh McCown is a terrible quarterback. I completely agree. There's a lot of backup quarterbacks that I don't understand why they still have jobs. I get that. But there's also, I mean, hell, up until last season, RG3 was on a roster.
He was on a roster.
Yeah,
I mean, wasn't he?
Yeah, but
he might have been.
The difference is this. The difference is this. When I'm pointing those things out, I'm not pointing out to say that they're disproportionately unfair, because I think some of them guys just are past their time, right? However, what I'm saying is it's about the system and how the system works. There are certain people, like, for example, like, if I wouldn't be surprised if Steve Wilkes jumped in, but I thought he should have been fired after 1 year too. I mean, bro, like that's that talent. You did that the 1 year. So I get it, but on the other hand, I look at it and I say, we got to focus on the system. We got to focus on how to begin to do things right. Don't incentivize them for doing things like hiring women and hiring African Americans and stuff like that. Hire and do it because you really want to win. And then there need to be other rules in place where they're doing things like saying like, hey, if you are, especially once you told me he got a betting business, and I'm like, oh, you can't do that. You can't. Yeah, were you betting on those games?
How did the NFL even let that happen? Because I feel like that's a conflict of interest.
Because they're a part of a group that has a sports betting group that is now inside of the NFL stadiums, because sports betting is allowed now in certain states, like here in Illinois, and sports betting's legal now. So they're going to have, I believe it's DraftKings sports betting inside of Wrigley Field. And I believe the Cubs get a piece of that.
They can get a piece of it, but they're not going to be owners of it. So they're not going to throw games to win X amount of money,
and it
right?
still is a conflict of interest, in my opinion. Like
it has to be.
Like you cannot tell me that that's like, I'll give you a perfect example, right? That's literally like a casino, or owner of a casino being allowed to turn around and be like, oh, we're going to let you join the NBA. And you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's great. It's no big deal, right? Yeah, it's no big deal because we got sports betting in our casino. No, there's a conflict. It's just a problem there.
Yeah, so speaking of, Combs, 1 second. Like, Mark Cuban and his brother owned a casino in Vegas, and then they bought the Dallas Mavericks, and the NBA made them sell the casino because it was a conflict of interest. So,
So the fact that the NFL let that happen is even more suspect. And then the other part of it is this. The NFL, because right now the Broncos are up for sale. They're going to have to find, because when they did the deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars, they thought that would be enough to satisfy that we got a minority owner in our midst. It's not, right? It's been a lot of other people who have been trying to do it. Puff Daddy has tried to buy NFL team. You've had a few other NFL players who tried to come together and buy an NFL team, and we're told no. If there's some things going on that should not be going on, absolutely. The system is so flawed. It is so terrible, and it needs to be fixed, and it needs to be adjusted in a way that makes it make sense. Like, to me, you should be required to submit to the NFL, which they do require this, but it should be a more in-depth requirement to submit to the NFL a list of your candidates that you are going to interview. And in that way, anybody not on your list, you ain't got to worry about it. If you choose to interview, let's say you decide that, one day you want to interview Prince and the next day you want to interview Sting, you can make that choice. That's your business. But you only get this many interviews, and you need to give me a list on there of legitimately qualified people that one, makes us look better as a whole and continue to give us competition. They're not willing to do that, and they're not willing to do it impartial. Because soon it's going to move from African Americans to women who want to be head coaches.
So do you think that this gets fixed by, finally getting a minority owner of an NFL franchise? Because people, I heard that argument today too. Well, there's no minority owners. Well, just nobody's selling their team. I mean, has there ever been an owner, a minority owner who was denied? You know what I mean? Like I don't know that. Like when was the last time an NFL franchise was sold?
Well, the last time I believe that one was sold was Jacksonville, but I think the when they expanded the NFL for the Houston Texans, there were a number of other people and investors like Sean Diddy Combs and a few other people who were former players. Like I know Eric Dickerson and what's his name? I'm drawing a blank on the other former NFL player, but they had came together as a group to try to buy one of these teams.
Well, the problem is the NFL saw what Diddy did to Biggie, and they didn't want him anywhere near an NFL team.
This could be true.
Slow it down. They're still alive. They're still alive. Calm down.
Right, but no, I mean, but reality is this: there have been a number of teams sold over the years, and none were by it. Like it was. Like the Broncos is going to get sold. I guarantee you, it's not going to be a minority. And you think about the.
Well, the two names that I'm hearing is that you got Elway trying to buy it, and then you got Peyton Manning trying to buy it, which makes sense because they're both former quarterbacks of the Denver Broncos. Both won Super Bowls there.
But do they have more money than some of the wealthy minority?
Well, I'd have to see the list. I'd have to see the list of people that are interested in buying, and that's my question. Like is there any minority owners that are actually interested in buying it, that are willing to put up the money to own an NFL team? And if there are, if they're the best candidate, they absolutely should be able to buy the team.
Without me having a list to give you, or without me even having to see a list, they absolutely are African American and minority buyers, and I'll prove it. Bill Cosby tried to buy NBC. Oprah Winfrey wanted to buy. God. I'm just saying.
What would be a worse owner in the NFL, Bill Cosby or Dan Snyder?
Dan Snyder.
I mean, they both do stuff to women.
I mean, leave that alone.
It took 30 years for Bill Cosby to get caught, though.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just. And I'm gonna be honest. The Bill Cosby thing to me, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it because I'm gonna tell you why I don't buy the Bill Cosby is because when you look at what they were saying was allegedly happening, it was happening in an era where a 13-year-old boy cat whistled and lost his life, which we later found out that the boy never even cat whistled, but because he was accused of it, he lost his life. They put Chuck Berry in jail for even attempting these same things. And now you tell me all these people are claiming that he was doing this and nobody could speak out. They was able to go at the Sammy Davis Jr., Flip Wilson, and everybody else that they could. They went at the Richard Pryor, and I just don't see that to be the case. However, I know that Oprah Winfrey tried to buy a network, and they told her no. And then when she made their own network, that was their way of like saying we'll give you a piece of the pie. But then look what happened. She doesn't have full control over it. She has a percentage. And so there are things that you look at that people want to be in the room on. Like Jeff Bezos, if he comes up right now and be like, "Oh, I want to buy the Broncos," they're not going to. Single person is going to tell them no. Why? Because it's Jeff freaking Bezos. Now let's take that same money that Jeff Bezos got, right? And let's say it's Luke G. Little old Luke G, who owns Amazon, who comes in there and say, "Hey, I want to buy this team." Who gonna outbid me?
Nobody. Maybe the guy that owns Twitter, Jack Dorsey, right? But that's about it.
I don't even think he got more than Jeff Bezos.
Oh no, he's the richest
Luke
man
G,
ever,
you got Bezos money?
I mean, we bring you on the show. Can we just get a little help here? I mean, this you might be on to something. I don't just hold tight. But I'm just making that point to say that look,
you are.
The biggest thing is they have to change the system, and there are buyers out there, and that those buyers should be given a fair shot because the whole purpose of you selling anything is for you to make the profit that you want. So, for example, if you're selling, say you want to sell that cool football back there. If somebody comes to you and say, "I got $100," and another guy show up and say, "I got 1,000," you're probably telling the guy with 100, "Have a good day."
Yeah.
So like, I don't know what the like what is the process of buying a NFL team by like any means, because clearly there was just not like a for sale sign. It's like, hey, you pay me $4.5 billion and it's yours. I mean, there's obviously some type of
vetting.
thing that happens, right? So, and then it has to go through the NFL somehow, some way. Like I get all that, but at the end of the day, I mean, like I don't think it comes down to the color of a skin or like anything. I think it comes down who has the best marketing plan, who has the best financial backing, right? Just right. Like saying, what happens if John Elway dies? How are you guys going to pay the salary? Because there's like, there's groups of people that usually buy these teams, because like John Elway has a group of like 8 guys and Peyton Manning has a group of like 10 guys that they're going to buy into it, right? So maybe,
well, the Broncos had billionaire Robert, what's his name? Robert Smith, who owns the Vista Equity. He's a minority billionaire, but then when they asked about it, he was told he wasn't interested.
Yeah, but there's a problem in that statement too, because at that point they're trying to handpick it, right? And it's not a person who's interested. Like, for example, you can walk down, certain streets in Las Vegas and people offer you things. That don't mean you got to take the deal.
Well, he was named as a potential buyer, and then when they asked him about it, he said he's not interested. The other potential buyers, there are no minority names listed as potential buyers.
But you know why, though? You know why? Because the system has been such that when those people stepped up and tried to do it, they were shut down. It's one of the reasons why the Packers did what they did by making the fans the owner and saying, hey, we're going to put this as a trust where you guys are putting this money into it and you're the owner. And those fans are the ones who do it. So they make a lot of decisions that go on there and they go with it. But it's not just the Packers that do this. The NFL as a whole has an unusual system of putting people in place that they think will be acceptable and beneficial. Like, for example, when D'Angelo Williams, the former running back of the Carolina Panthers, first wore pink gloves to honor his mother who died from breast cancer, he was fined hundreds, millions of dollars. Oh, you can't do this. It's not our uniform. Woo, woo, woo. He said, I'm going to keep doing it. I don't care what you're talking about. Then all of a sudden, other sports started doing it, and they embraced it, and everybody fell in love with it. And soon after, when the NFL realized, we can make money off of this, everybody wears pink in October. That's what we'll do, and purple in this time, and military, and so forth and so on. And so the NFL definitely loves getting in bed when it makes them look good. Everything they're doing is about image. They're the pretty girl who constantly keeps makeup on their face, who wants to be called pretty, that doesn't want to get old, and will drink a virgin's blood to stay that way. They're okay with that. And that's the problem that we're running into with the system. It's not about, like you said, how much money you get, because there's some people who can pull up and pay the money now.
$6.3 billion is what they're expected to sell for.
So Luke, let me take everything that like you just said and twist it around, tie a bow in it, and present it to the NFL. Right now, the NFL has a black eye on it. Right now, hands down. Right, just like with just these allegations alone. Everything could be completely false, but just the allegations alone gives you a black eye, gives you a stain. So what else would basically make this go away? Get a black owner for the Denver Broncos, right? So why not push that narrative right now? Why not get that black owner, or a Hispanic owner or Indian owner or whoever, right? And really start pushing that agenda and push away John Elway, push away Peyton Manning, push away the other person that owns like the Miami Heat that wants to buy it. Like, push those guys away.
Right. Yeah, because that makes the most sense. But see, they don't want to do that because guess what? If Tom Brady says I want to buy New England, that's great for business. If Tom Brady wants to buy any team, that's great for business, right? If Peyton Manning wants to buy this team, that's great for business, right?
Do you really think, though, that if Robert Smith stepped up and said, look, I know they're worth $6.3 billion, I'll give you 8.2, they're not going to sell to him?
No, they're not.
Really? You really believe that?
I really believe that.
I mean, look, I don't know how any businessman doesn't make. I mean, you're about to offer me $1.7 billion more than what I'm asking.
And that's the problem. It's been offered like that before. Before they added the Jaguars owner, I always mess his name up. I think it's Khan or something like that.
Yeah, Khan.
But before they added the Jags owner, there were so many people who wanted that team, right? Like so many. I'm talking about like rappers. I'm talking about like big producers. I remember Kanye West was talking about at one point he wanted to kind of buy a bunch of teams in Illinois and wanted to get in on ownership on the Bulls and a bunch. I told him no. And so you have all these different owners who are coming together and just saying no. And I don't know if you ever see that TV show called Ballers. You remember that TV show Ballers?
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you remember when the Rock was getting ready, he was trying to buy that thing, he thought he really had it. What they do? They quickly told him nope, and it went somewhere else. And he had all the money. He had it. He had the money. He had the backing. He had the support. He was a former player. He was told no. That happens, and it happened. And the reason they put that in that particular TV show was because that happens so much, and players know it, owners know it, coaches know it, and everybody involved knows it. And it's not even a dirty secret. And that's why they need to fix the system. That's what Brian Flores' lawsuit is about. That's what the frustration is coming from. Yes, did he word it in a way that I was like, well, I don't quite see it that way, but he worded it in a way. But I get the goal. The goal is y'all got to change the system. It's not right and it's flawed.
So, Luke, speaking of that lawsuit, let's go ahead and complete this full circle here. And I was watching your show tonight, and there was some guy that had on, and he read like Section 4 of the lawsuit. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yep. So basically, like, I don't have the lawsuit in front of me by any means, so I want to paraphrase it here. The Section 4 of the lawsuit basically says that the NFL is a plantation. There is a group of 32 white owners that sit on top, and they have 80% black people playing on the field, being slaves for them in the end. And like that is why we need more black coaches and general managers and stuff like that. So Luke, when I first heard that, I'm like, well, wait a second. Nobody is holding a gun to these players' heads to be on the field. It is not like we're paying them minimum wage to go out there and beat their bodies into the ground, right? We are paying them millions upon millions of dollars to play a game, to have fun, to get all the glory, to get all the ladies that you want, to get these endorsement deals. So, like, how does that sound like a plantation?
Because it's a system. It's a system thing, right? If you think about I think it's called a Pepticon, right? Which is this big tower that sits in the middle and it's real high, and nobody can see in there, right? Like they did this a long time ago in different types of prisons and stuff like that, and the prisoners will look up and they can't see nothing, but they know somebody's there watching them.
Right.
So there's a system thing that's set in place for that perception. So to kind of bring it home in a way, the plantation field comes from the idea that the players don't have the power of compared to other sports. The NBA is ran by its players.
Facts.
You know how much stuff LeBron James say that would be in violation and nothing happens? True. Nothing. How many times Charles Barkley and Shaq on TV have went full-fledged a-hole and nothing happens? Because the NBA knows who runs that thing. Without those players, it does not work. It does not move. And I think we look at the NFL, they just want that fair compensation. Their contracts are not fully guaranteed. You know, everybody talks about the deal that Patrick Mahomes got, but who's to say he's going to meet that? At some point, they're going to cut that money down. He's going to get a restructure, and they're going to pay out little pieces and bits here. But the problem is the plantation field has always come from a system, and it goes deeper than that. It goes into the history of this country in a lot of ways. But the reality is in business, where the plantation field comes from is where you start to feel like you don't have rights. There's a reason why unions exist, because there were things going on that was not right. I had to work 16 hours a day. What about my family? What about other things? And I'm not getting compensated for that. Those are things that happen and occur that resulted in changes coming around. And that's the plantation field. The plantation field is where you are in a system that has been designed and has been actually implemented to make you feel like that you're not being treated fairly, that you're not being viewed in the same light. And right now, if you look at most of the sports, and I could be wrong about this, but I think football is the only one that's not without guaranteed contracts. I think everybody else get their money up front. They get guaranteed contracts. And the number one sport in America is football. That's a very telling story.
Is it because of the injury aspect, though?
But I mean, it's sports. I mean, the Olympics, you get injured. Michael Phelps got hurt.
Right.
Michael Jordan got hurt. So the injury part is there. The injury part can't be it. The issue is one part is the NFL know what they're doing, right? And to me, I could be wrong. I'm okay with them not getting a guaranteed contract. It does keep competition up. That's why they're number one. Because right now in the NBA, this load management got me want to puke, right?
So basically, you're contradicting yourself here. You want guaranteed contracts, but then you're like, well, it keeps the competition level up, right?
No, not contradicting myself. What I'm saying is this. I personally don't want it, but to explain their thought process on it is, if you look at the number one sport in America, it's football. How do they not have guaranteed contracts?
Well, they have the signing bonus, right? Which that's where most of the chunk of money. Well, like nowadays, like because Patrick Mahomes' majority of his money is going to be sign-on bonuses and stuff like that. Like when he restructures every year to keep under the cap, and then that is slowly going to become a trend. So if you want guaranteed contracts in the NFL, you need to go to your Black Player Association leader and say, hey, we want guaranteed contracts, and lock out the NFL, right?
Well, they've done that. And it hasn't lasted long. And you know, we've had multiple lockouts in the NFL, right? Like, this is nothing new. Right. They've done that. I remember at one point they did a lockout, and it happened. And I think after the first lockout, it created the free agency pool because they were stuck in contracts with teams that they didn't want. So that's where free agency came from. And then you go down the line, right? You go to looking at the idea of the contract, right? They've asked for these things, but then they're told no. So, for example, like you said, they can go and restructure the money. They can go and tell them that, you know, we're going to give you this portion or whatever like that. But in my opinion, they need to have a little bit more power. I mean, just look at it from this one particular standpoint. NFL players wanted to keep the season 16 games. Owners was like, hold my beer.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
and they're getting ready to increase it again. They're getting ready to increase it again to 18 games. So now you're going to have more games, and they're like, well, we want more money. No, but we'll protect y'all on practice squad. What? And then they threw them a bone. We'll give practice squad players a little bit more money. So they're just, right now, we're at a point where we're looking to be equal. We're looking to be in the room and to be equal. And that, to me, is where we should be.
All right, so let me ask you a question. Brian Flores goes 10-6 last year, goes 9-8 this year, 2 straight winning seasons. But he is fired, and it is cited that, you know, he's in the locker room. He's telling Tua, man, I wish we would have, you know, drafted Joe Burrow. He's telling Tua, man, I really wish we would have traded for Deshaun Watson. You're not going to be any good in this league.
Allegedly.
Basically, his relationship with Tua is soured. And his relationship with his owner is sour for whatever reason. Maybe it's because he's not taking the games that he wants them to take. Maybe it's because he's not running the way. And Brian Flores is known as one of those guys who comes in and he commands a room and he commands a certain amount of respect. And I can understand that and I can respect that. But if that pushes the boss's buttons the wrong way, you don't have that. So now you've got all this information, and we don't know if it's true, but let's say that it is true. And this is what you're hearing as an NFL owner. This is what you're hearing. But you've got guys in front of you who have never had a head coaching job, who are willing to do the things that you want to do, who are about that. Is there a problem with the fact that Flores hasn't gotten another head coaching job?
No. And the only reason I say that is because at the end of the day, we all can be fired from our jobs. And who's to say we're going to be hired? Like I said, but it's still one of them things where I think as you look at teams now, they are starting to do that. But from what he said, he was not cited for disrupting the team. Like Matt Patricia came to the Detroit Lions and caused complete chaos. We went from a happy team who was on the cusp of moving forward into a team that went back to the basement, all because he came in and alienated everybody. He got more people to leave faster than even Matt Millen, and Matt Millen didn't know what he was doing. So you're talking about a opportunity that comes, right? But this is how it works. You go back, you be a coordinator, and then you go from there. But the other part of it is this. Too often, they're not being given a second term. I mean, with that dude named Rex Ryan, the NFL loves him talking about the NFL, but nobody wants him in their house. Why? He did more with less.
Yeah. But Rex Ryan is one of those guys that he's just too much of a headache, right? You look at just more recently, right? The Bears, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. They seem like great guys. I mean, they seem like all right guys, like the guys you would go out and have a drink with. I don't want them leading my football team, though.
True.
And that's okay.
That's fine. But the difference is Matt Nagy is going to get another head coaching job.
No.
Watch him. Watch it. It happened. The NFL recycled these coaches so much, but it doesn't happen. Like, for example, like Herm Edwards went from.
It's the only time you're going to hear me say this, Lucci. Let's go Lions.
So, like, we have definitely hammered this out, and it's been hammered out all day long. But then Hugh Jackson starts jumping on board and saying that he was paid to tank or asked to, like, tank and stuff like that. So let's say this is true, right? How, as a head coach, can you get players to like tank? Hell, Rule the Jungle, I coached him in high school, and I couldn't get him to put on his pants right. So I mean, it's just like it is absolutely ridiculous to think that one person, Brian Flores or Hugh or like Hugh Jackson, can get a group of 52 guys plus 25 coaches to tank. Also, my second point of this, why has no white coach come out and said this yet? Are they scared to get alienated from the NFL? There are a few coaches that will never be coaching again. Rex Ryan, Bill Cowher, how about this, Adam Gase? Do you think, because Adam Gase got fired for literally winning a game, right? That's why he got fired. It's because he won the game. He had the opportunity to go 0-16, and what they won their final two of their last three, right, or something coves, and then he got fired. Why hasn't he come out and said he got paid to like tank? He's not getting a job.
See, Adam Gase would have never got my job when he signed up when he showed up to the press conference looking like he just swallowed an 8-ball.
Well, the truth is, some Caucasian coaches have said it. They just said it indirectly. Let's start with Nick Saban, right? Nick Saban goes into the Miami Dolphins, right? And this entire time he was there, and it was short-lived, and he swiftly exited and went to Alabama. Why? Well, he later come out and say that he thought that, one, that team was not a winning team. The thing that they were asking him to do was ridiculous, and the fact that he wanted Drew Brees, and they got a doctor that he told. The doctor don't know what he's talking about. He could be a doctor, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. They told him, "Oh, Drew Brees is hurt. He can't play. He can't do it." He believed that they got a doctor to tell him that because they didn't want to bring Drew Brees in. And he was like, "Look, y'all not trying to win. Give me what I want to win. You want me to coach the game? Coach. You want me to cook the meal? Cook the meal. Go get the ingredients I need for the meal you want." And I think it's not just him. You go through and you look at a few other coaches who have indirectly said things that made you question it and wonder what's going on. You go and you look at God, Jesus, I just had his name in my head that quick and I lost it.
The white guy that coached that team. Got it.
Pete Carroll. Sorry. Pete Carroll, when he was the coach of the New England Patriots, he had a few gripes with the New England Patriots where he pointed out some things too, where he said, "Hey, they want me to do They wanted me to do some things, and I thought I'd have a better opportunity here. Bill Parcells said, if you want me to make the meal, let me do the grocery shopping. These are things that have occurred repeatedly over and over and over. When you go through and you look at people like Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett was with the Dallas Cowboys for all them years with all that talent, never did a single thing or a singular thing, and got to keep his job. It wasn't until fans, and he saw that those ticket sales went down, that all of a sudden Jason Garrett gets a swift exit, right?
Come on,
and so I'm being honest. These are people who point out things.
So they are pointing out things that they got that they did not get players that they wanted. They are there to coach. They are not. They can like so. I am an IT assistant manager, right? I can, suggest that my manager do this, this, and this, but that doesn't mean he is going to do it at the end of the day. Pete Carroll can say, hey, I want such and such this, right? But Colin, we can't see that comment, by the way. But just because Pete Carroll says I want him and him and him, that doesn't mean, like, I don't know who the general manager, let's say, who's the owner? Robert Kraft, but Robert Kraft doesn't like that guy. I pay the bills. I'm going to get who I want, when I want, how I want. This is my team. I'm going to do what I want. And, like, how is that considered, say, they're here to tank?
Because it's different. You know why it's different? Because if you hired me as a lawyer, where do you get off telling me how to do the law? If you hired me to paint your house, if you thought the way I painted was wrong, then you paint it.
A coach is hired to coach. A GM is hired to build the team.
And the owner put different people in place to hire different people to do it the right way, and they are basically overseeing it. In other words, I don't like how this is going. I can make adjustments and changes. However, in most cases, when you are doing certain things in a certain way and you hire somebody to do it, the coach needs to coach. And if I need to coach, just like if I'm a chef and I'm coming to you and I'm a private chef and I'm telling you I can help you lose weight, you can't come tell me that you want chili cheese fries in 4 or 5 McRibs. That's not what I'm going to make you.
But you can suggest, hey, you should probably eat this salad. But at the end of the day, it's my body. I'm going to do what I want, right? Like,
right. But the difference is when you do what you want with what your body is, and with, like in the case of the owners, when they do what they want with their team, that's perfectly fine. Don't tell me to do it. Then when it happens, come back and use that as a reason for me being fired.
So do you buy, and I see Alpha Rob, I see your comment here, and that's where I'm going with this, is do you buy that you are able, any head coach is able to get 53 men on a roster to tank games when all of those players are also playing for their future?
No, but what I do buy is that coaches know how to make games be set up to be tanked. There's been some coaching decisions that me, you, and Buck cannot explain. We don't even understand what the hell they was thinking, why they was thinking it, and we've seen them make that same decision, the right decision early on in the year, but we get to certain times, we don't get it. We've seen teams be getting blew the hell out, and all of a sudden decide that, you know what, don't want a true clock. Who don't know that chewing clock helps everything, right? Like, we've seen these things happen. I do believe that there's ways that these coaches can go out and do things to where they can say, hey, I'm going to call this and this and this and this, knowing that it wasn't going to work. I'll give you a perfect example. When the Lions had Joey Harrington was under the coaching staff of Steve Mariucci. Steve Mariucci was under the coaching staff of Bill Wash. And so he gave a play to Joey Harrington. Joey Harrington told him, hey, if you call this play, this guy's going to blitz here, here, and here, and they're going to get home because of this. They told him, call the play anyway, because that's how Bill Wash did it. You just got to take the hit. And he's like, take the hit? He's like, the play is not going to work. They didn't listen to him, right?
He could have audibled. He could have audibled.
No. They were told not to. That was the whole point. He was asking them, what is the audible for? They said, nope, you run the play. He was told to. I think coaches can sabotage players. When you look at Matt Patricia, he told players that he would ruin their career.
Well,
and tried to ship them to trash teams. So I think they can. I don't think it's possible to just go and tell 53 or 75 players, hey, we're tanking this season. No. But there's a way for you to coach a game in a way to lose it. And I think that is very possible. And I think it does happen more than we think. Because I certainly believe they do it for they certainly do it for point shaving. Like when it comes to like point spreads and stuff, I'd be so amazed at some of the things they be doing. I'd be like, why did you go for 2 here?
Right. So
I'd be amazed too when you kneel on the ball and you're all you gotta do is kick a field goal and you just
right.
I can't tell you how many dollars I've lost on that, Luke G.
I ain't trying to open no old wounds up. I'm just pointing out some things that have been shaky and how they can kind of work the system to still get the same result.
You know who I really feel bad for, Buck?
Who's that?
Javier, because now we know how he lost all that money on the Dolphins this year.
No, so come on, slow it down, baby, slow it down, because he would always bet 500 against the other team. Like, hey, this team's gonna beat the Dolphins, he will lose it. But Luke, when you go about shaving points, or I don't want to go to the NFL rigging thing again here, but let's say a coach is trying to quote sabotage his team to tank, right? Doesn't that give him a bad look in the end, which it does? Like, call a kettle black. When you make questionable play calls, it's going to affect your future. It's going to affect your bottom line. It is going to affect you getting a job in the NFL. So how do you rationalize that and say, well, the owner of the Dolphins wanted me to tank, so I called this play and told him not to audible, and he did an audible, and we lost that game, and I got an extra $100,000. Like, what? What? So you made a bad play call to make $100,000. What are you going to do for my team? Like, come on! Like, it is a double-edged sword, and I get where Brian Flores and Hugh Jackson is trying to go with the lawsuit. I get it. I understand. We've been seeing it a lot here lately in the media with the oppression and, not hiring black coaches and GMs. And I understand it. But at the end of the day, if you get paid to tank and you do it, it hurts you in the end. If you get paid to tank and you don't tank, it hurts you, by questioning your boss. But it makes you look good, and you could potentially get a new job in the end. I think maybe these guys just don't. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. I want to kind of play devil's advocate a little.
Always.
Bit, right? Let's just say your boss comes to you.
Yep.
And tell you to use your computer skills to move this money to an overseas account. And if you do it, he's going to pay you $500,000. Are you doing it?
No, my moral compass tells me not to, just because I have the luck that if it could be sunny outside and I can be wearing sandals and I walk outside, it starts snowing. That's the kind of luck I have 100%.
Now, the reason I bring that point up though, Buck, is because of this. Let's flip that to Brian Flores, and I'm just trying to see if we can put ourselves in his shoes. He's a guy who's got one of the very few covenant jobs in sports. I'm a head coach of an NFL team, and I have an owner who wants the following to be done. I can, one, tell him I'm not doing it and that I quit, and then I can air them out. But then if I air them out, then the whole NFL is like, you're airing out our dirty laundry and you're making our product look bad and you're drawing negative attention to us, and we don't want you to be coaching here again. Or I can B, try to navigate around this by still satisfying him, by still making myself look good. It's a rock between a hard place. If like Colin said, he really wants to be a coach. He loves coaching. He's passionate about coaching, and he wants to coach. He's going to do certain things. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I had a football coach who literally told me just this one time to basically blitz. He basically told me to blitz on this play, and I was like, what the hell am I blitzing for? It's going to leave it open in the back. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. So I did the total opposite of that. You know that this particular coach benched me for the next 2 games? That hurts my stock. And all thing I'm pointing out to you is when you're in a covenant position like that, where you have an opportunity to do something different, and now you do the total opposite, because he should have never been in that position to have to go against it, and he should have never been offered that deal.
And here's the thing that I think everybody's missing, right? And I'm going to tell you this right now. If I'm an owner of an NFL franchise that's looking for a head coach, especially the Houston Texans, wink, wink, keep your guy Deshaun Watson there, win some NFL football games. I'm going out and I'm giving him the job. Okay, I'm giving Brian Flores the job for one reason, and that reason is this man went 10-6 and 9-8 with a roster that was designed to lose.
What?
They wanted to lose. They kept trying to lose.
In 2016.
No, he wasn't the head coach in 2016. He took over in 2018.
No. He said in 2016.
Not Hugh Jackson. I'm talking about Brian Flores.
Brian Flores, I think the report was he said in 2016, the 2016-2017 season, that he was asked to tank for $100,000 for every game he lost.
No, I think that was Hugh Jackson.
Yeah,
Flores took over in 2018, right?
Flores was offered $100,000 his first year there, not the last two.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was 2019 was his first year, though, right? Not 2016?
Yeah. Hugh Jackson come out and said in 2016 that he was offered money from the Browns.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. If the Dolphins were really trying to tank the entire time you were there and they fired you because you won too many games with a roster that they set up because they didn't want you to be winning football games, and now I get to give you a roster that I'm trying to win football games with? To me, I thought Brian Flores was a good head coach when he got fired from Miami. Now I think he's even better and more coveted than he was. And forget, I know what they're talking about with this whole lawsuit, and he probably is not going to find himself another NFL job. And that they're probably right about that.
They're
probably right about
job.
that. Well, I don't know how you get hired, but I don't know how you get hired by the company that you're suing. I don't think that
you can't.
Yeah,
conflict of interest, isn't it?
Right, and so I don't think that if I'm an NFL owner, I mean, I lean that I look at a guy like Hugh Jackson. I look at these guys who are saying, "Hey, look, I was paid to lose games," and you look at their record, and if they were winning with rosters that were paid to lose, I'm going out to get them.
All right, so let's kind of put this in perspective for Brian Flores, right? Like I look at it a little bit different. I think in a league where 14 teams get into the playoff, you can get in. But let's just go through the schedule. You lose 17-16 in week one. You win week 1, 17-16 against New England. And everybody thinking, okay, good job. Everything's feeling good. Then you turn around the next week, you get completely destroyed at home against the Buffalo Bills, 35-0. You then go on the road, lose another game to the Las Vegas Raiders in overtime, 31-28. You come back home against the Indianapolis Colts, lose 27-17. Against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you lose 45-17 to Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll say it again: the team is picking first overall. You lose.
Was Frank Reich paid to tank that final game of the season this year?
I'm not. Listen, I'm just saying. Just saying, you lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, 20 at home, 23-20. So right now, your home win record ain't looking too good. Then you at home against the Falcons, lose 30-28. Then you come back and lose again to the Buffalo. Now you go up, you finally beat the Texans. Woohoo! You beat the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, all right. You beat the Jets. Woohoo! You beat the Carolina Panthers. Woohoo!
Love it.
You beat the New York Giants. Whoa! Like, what did you do? Who did you really beat?
You won NFL football games. It doesn't matter who you're beating. You won NFL football games. Look, any given Sunday, right? You saw the parity in the league this year, right, Luke G?
I'm just saying, this is one of the reasons why I was okay with Jim Caldwell.
I mean, even the Lions won games.
Yeah, but the problem is this. This is one of the reasons why I wanted Jim Caldwell fired. You didn't beat anybody of value. You beat a bunch of bottom-feeding teams, and I don't care that you beat a bunch of bottom-feeding teams. When we went against the cream of the crop, you did not deliver. Let's keep going. They get a bye week, week 14. That's a special bye week. Time to heal up. You go out and you beat the Jets. Okay. You go out and you beat the Saints. Now, that's a good win. That's a very good win, especially when they don't have a quarterback. We're going to leave that alone. Then you turn around and lose to the Tennessee Titans, 34-3. Then you beat a New England Patriots team who arrested people. Woohoo! Like, come on. He did not do anything. I'm sorry. He had what is the most quality win out of what I just said? I'll wait.
So you don't think Jim Caldwell should be a coach in the NFL?
Who?
Jim Caldwell?
No, I think he's a better offensive coordinator. I've watched him twice. He had Peyton freaking Manning, bro. He had Do you remember the team that Jim Caldwell had, bro?
Yeah.
That went to the Super Bowl? Do you remember what Jim Caldwell did that year? They had a chance to go for a perfect record, undefeated all the way to the Super Bowl, and he set the team on purpose because he says, I don't care about going undefeated. This is greatness. This is what you're aiming for, right? This is your job. You have a chance to reset history. You would have been the first African-American coach to go undefeated in the season. right? This is the level of thinking that needs to be had here. Now, I'm not saying that Jim Caldwell is not deserving of taking of getting like a coordinator position, but he can't be my head coach, right? He just can't. So the year that they went to the Super Bowl, they went 14-2, a team that he took over from Tony Dungy. After that, he went 10-6 and 2-14. So was it him or was it Tony Dungy's team? Now, here go the other scary part about it, right? That 2009 team that he went to the Super Bowl with, that everybody said was Tony Dungy's team, right? That he went to. Did you know who was on that team? And when he lost that Super Bowl? Did you ever look at it? Watch this. This gonna blow your mind. Let's start off with the first Hall of Famer, Peyton Manning. Let's go on down to the next Hall of Famer, Reggie Wayne. Their slot receiver at the time was Pierre Garçon. That's the slot receiver. Their running back at the time was Joseph Adai, and that was after a person got hurt. They had Dallas Clark. They also turned around on defense.
They went to a Super Bowl after 2008. They went back to back.
They went 2009.
They went 2008 because they beat the Bears, right?
I thought that was 2000. Well, it's 2008.
Yeah, it was with Tony. It was with Tony Dungy,
right?
But
that's a 2000. That's a 2000. Wait, is that the 2008 season?
Yeah, it was 2008, wasn't it?
Yeah,
sure it was.
Yeah.
I don't know if the top. Okay. Yeah, but either way.
Right, so
I'm a Bears fan. I remember when we were in the Super Bowl. It was 2008.
Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Jay Cutler.
Rex
Grossman.
Either way.
Even worse.
Luke.
Now, my point I'm trying to make to you is this: you go down the list and you look at it. Dwight Freeney, Hall of Famer. Robert Mathis. You had Gary Brackett. You had so many talented people. You had the pass rush. You had the safeties. And listen, when it comes to the injuries and stuff like that, they had a few injuries. I'm not gonna add they didn't have a few injuries. However, this team was loaded. Pierre Garçon at that time was one of the top receivers in the game. Okay, they added this was their third running back out of Michigan, Mike Hart. That's their third running back. Like, he did nothing. As people left, as the thing went on, their seasons got worse. Then he comes to Detroit. It's funny how history repeats itself in a way. He goes 11-5 with a team that was pretty much built by Jim Schwartz, right? And you're like, okay, he makes it to the playoffs. We get cheated to get to Dallas Cowboys. Great. That sucks. Then the next year he goes 7-9. Inexcusable, but whatever, it happened. Then 2016 comes, he goes 9-7. And you get into a playoff game with the Seattle Seahawks. Your quarterback has broken bones and fingers on his throwing hand. He throws the ball 45 times. You're a freaking genius. Doesn't even run the ball no more than 11 times. Let's talk about that. And then in 2017, you come out and go 9-7 again. And in that entire time, you've never beat a team that had 10 wins on their freaking damn schedule. No one. Where's the quality wins? If I beat up on my son, I'm not a good boxer. I'm a bully. And that's what I'm looking at when I look at Brian Flores. He didn't beat anybody. He left a lot to be desired. And there was a lot of things going on that should have been happening up front. Give me the Lions got a quality win last year. How did you not get one? The Lions beat the Cardinals. They beat the Packers. And before somebody say, oh, they beat the Packer team that set everybody in the second half, they were whooping that butt before in the halftime. They did it before earlier in the year before halftime. So I'm just pointing out to you, if the Lions, who are 3-13-1, got a quality win, where's the Dolphins' quality win at?
I give you that. I mean, those are all great facts, Luke. Yeah.
The Ravens.
That don't count.
I mean,
Lamar Jackson. Only think Lamar Jackson played that game.
The Saints, who were vying for a playoff spot, would have had a playoff spot if the Niners don't come back against the Rams. They beat the Patriots.
Okay.
Twice.
Okay. And so
playoff teams. I mean, those are playoff teams.
Okay, so they beat the Saints, playoff team. You said right, and you said
they were fighting for a playoff spot. They got knocked out because the Rams couldn't hold the lead, which is their MO.
Okay, so I'm saying, but who are the playoff teams you said they beat? The New England
Patriots.
Yeah. Who else?
The Baltimore Ravens.
Not a playoff team.
Okay.
Not a playoff team, but
No, they're almost overrated team in the NFL this year.
Those are quality wins. Those are their quality wins. I mean, look, you're the Miami Dolphins. You're not exactly playing a gauntlet of a schedule because of who you've been. I mean, your schedule is predicated on how you finished over the last year, right?
Right.
They were 10-6 last year, or the previous year.
They put you up against light competition. So, you played the Bills twice, you lost twice, which is Bills are one of the two best teams in the AFC. You've got the Jets who you play twice, which you should beat them twice, right? You got the Jaguars on your schedule. Shouldn't have lost to the Jaguars, but you did. The games that they're losing are games that you don't expect the Miami Dolphins to win, especially with the roster that they had. I mean, Tua, look, I'm sorry, but I agree with Flores when he says Tua doesn't belong being a starting quarterback in this league.
Listen, that could all be true, but the bottom line is this. You giving me these wins that you think are quality wins, right? You think New England's a quality win? I'll give you that, right?
Yeah, for sure. Twice.
Yeah, I mean, you think that's a quality win, and it's a division opponent, right? Oh, that's beautiful. That's great. Rookie quarterback, tons of injuries and other stuff. We're not gonna worry about that. We're gonna say it's a quality win. They're so quality, right?
A rookie quarterback that set rookie records and a defense that was in the top 5 of the NFL.
Listen, everything you're saying, I'm hearing you, right? If you're telling me that's their quality win, I'm telling you, great. Well, what happened to that team like Buffalo? How did that go over? Because you do realize
they got small, and they should.
You do realize between two games they only managed to score 11 points, right?
One of the two best teams in the AFC, maybe even in the NFL.
Let's take them out. Let's take them out, right? Let's take them out. Let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. How you take that L at home?
I ask the Colts when they need a win to get in the playoffs.
I'm just asking.
They're not the only ones that lost to the Jaguars. Right,
but this is not a question of the Colts head coach. We're not questioning the Colts head coach.
We're
questioning Brian Flores.
Wasn't Urban Meyer no longer a Jacksonville head coach?
He got $100K for that loss. What's wrong with that?
Well, no, but seriously,
for $100K, I'm gonna lose a game soon.
Well, but like seriously on this, but wasn't Urban Meyer already gone from the Jacksonville Jaguars from that point? Yep. So the Jacksonville Jaguars were probably playing that like inspired ball.
I believe that was the same week.
Yeah. So when you hit controversy in the NFL, you play that air quote expired ball. Like Holmes said earlier, any given Sunday, any team can win. And when you come out inspired, not expired, but inspired, and Jacksonville could beat the Kansas City Chiefs if they come out like that following week.
The parity in this league was phenomenal this year. This season, we've never seen parity in the league like we saw this year.
Yeah, but the problem is this. I'm looking at this, right? Like I wish I could make this up, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, do I really? It's not there. If you want to give me New England, I'll take New England, I guess.
So
let me ask you the go ahead.
So I was going to totally switch gears on this just because I see Houday or rule the jungle in the chat blowing it up. Thank you for that. But let's look at the Cincinnati Bengals here. If you want to talk about tanking, Zach Taylor has been the Cincinnati Bengals coach for 3 years, right? His first year there, they went 2-14. Next year, they went 4-12, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me, and then like all of a sudden they are in the Super Bowl. How
they
are
went
they
4-12 because Burrow? They went 4-12 because Burrow. For one, Burrow was a rookie. 2, he got hurt.
Joe Burrow had 2 wins. He played 9 games. Combs, don't give me that crap.
Yeah, but he still got hurt, and he was still a rookie.
Okay.
I mean, look,
they shouldn't have cut Andy Dalton.
The Bengals
top 15 quarterback.
Did he just say that out loud? They shouldn't have cut Andy Dalton.
They shouldn't have.
What? Really?
Because
the guy. Why does this surprise you, Luke G?
I know where Combs is going with this whole thing, and Sue Boss is wrong. Your stats are wrong. Joe Burrow should have sat last year behind Andy Dalton and learned how to be a pro.
He should have sat last year and not gone to the Super Bowl this year.
They would have gone to the Super Bowl this year.
You know what? I don't.
No, but like you guys want to talk about tanking. We should be asking Zach Taylor how much was he paid to like tank, right?
Let me ask you about the tanking. If Brian Flores was offered this money per loss, and he's got this lawsuit, my question, which I have not heard anybody ask, and maybe they have, and I just missed it. Did he take any of that money for those losses? I know,
right? Right. That's
because if you took the money for the losses, your lawsuit's null and void, right?
Yeah, right. What are we talking about here?
Well, the owner better kept his receipts, right? Says Brian. So my question is, everybody's keeping these receipts. Hugh Jackson kept text messages from 2016 because he knew in 2022 we're going to file a class action lawsuit. Come on, what is that all about?
Yeah, and I look, I'm the opposite of Herm Edwards, right? Do not put your name on it.
you know what that remind me of though, when somebody keep receipts like that, and stuff, and it's kind of, I hate to use this as an example, but it's the reality. It reminds me of the Monica Lewinsky dress. Like, why would you keep that dress?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
You know,
you are trying to set
Come
people
on now.
up.
Yeah,
you know why he kept the dress.
I'm just saying. So,
dress wasn't the only thing he kept.
But to even take Zach Taylor as an example, right? Zach Taylor, again, keep in mind, I am a person who believes that you have to do something by year 3, and Zach Taylor was on the freaking hot seat. And guess what? He went 2-14. The next year he went 4-11, and then he went 10-7, and is now in the Super Bowl. That is a huge jump. He buys himself some more time. But let's say he went 10-7, and they don't make the playoffs. He was getting fired.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
Hell yes, he was getting. He took over a team from Marvin Lewis, who was 6-10. I want to say
they were habitual 500. If you look at
under Marvin Lewis, they were a perennial playoff team under Marvin Lewis, except for his last couple of seasons.
Yeah, Marvin Lewis
he went to playoffs a bunch.
He was 6-10, and then the year before that he was 7-9, and then the year before that he was 6-9-1.
But before that, they were going to the playoffs.
He was 12-4. Yeah, he was 12-4. And then 10-5-1 made the playoffs. 11-5 made the playoff. 10-6 made the playoff. So yeah, really, it was his last 3 seasons.
Marvin Lewis was also on ESPN today while I was watching, and Marvin Lewis was saying he has interviewed for 5 jobs since, and he doesn't feel that he was just a token interview, and he actually turned down an offer on the 6th interview. So he is kind of contradicting some of the stuff.
But Marvin Lewis is a little bit different. I'm gonna tell you why. Marvin Lewis is different because Marvin Lewis' pedigree is different. Look what they did over there with Baltimore. Look, and then he comes to the Bengals of all the teams. Tames Osho, tames all these people with attitudes and stuff, and still is finding ways to produce. Goes out and get other talent. Decides that I don't think Andy Dalton was his pick at quarterback, but we're gonna leave that alone. I don't want to rile Buck up, but
can't rile me up,
I don't want to rile.
I can rile you up,
but it's just one of the things when you look at him, man. Honestly, he has a history where he's a Super Bowl winner. And so he's had the defense, that historical defense and stuff. So, yeah, he's going to get opportunities. Brian Flores don't have that pedigree. Every time somebody go come from New England and they're a Super Bowl winner, they suck as head coaches. Romeo Cornell, Charlie Weiss, hell, what's his name? The one that's trying to come back to the damn league. That was on the Texas, Bill O'Brien. Like, come on, like,
yeah. And I see the comments right now. Rule the Jungle and Go Lions. Go Lions have been very active in the chat right now.
Shout out
he says Harbaugh staying in Michigan. Talk to me. He's like, don't play. That's the rumor.
Yeah,
Harbaugh is staying in Michigan. He told Michigan he was coming back.
Yep, he told him he was coming back. But you know what though? To me, that right there, in my opinion, it was a power move. It was to send a message to Michigan and say, hey, give me my money back, pay my coaches, or I will leave. I have a market.
I think it's a power move to the Minnesota Vikings because the Minnesota Vikings didn't offer him a contract as soon as he walked out of the room. I think that he's actually going to end up coming back to the Minnesota Vikings, and Minnesota's going to get him. I think he's going to coach the Vikings.
The guy took an interview on National Signing Day,
Stupid.
What player is going to come there?
Yeah.
So here, I just texted because I have a former player that plays for Michigan. He is a kicker. Hey, can I text him? Hey, what's the deal with Jim? And I said, and he says here, and I quote, "Fuck Jim."
I'm telling you, because I'm telling you what he's doing.
He said, and I quote,
what he's doing is he's flaunting himself. Like seriously, they gave him a pay cut as they should. You were losing religiously to Michigan State, which is a team that I love. You was never beating Ohio State, and you struggled with Army and Appalachian State. Who in the hell with a program that big struggles with Army and Appalachian State? So I just
Michigan has a history of struggling from Appalachian State, right?
Well, I don't know, but I'm gonna be honest. I'm a Michigan State fan.
Okay,
Michigan fans to me are too bougie. They so annoying. They just seem so privileged. Like, oh, we're Michigan. It's like, okay, so I don't care.
Let's jump back to the Brian Flores things here, because he was going in for a second interview with Houston, and his name was getting thrown in the hat with the Saints as well. Does he still interview with Houston? And let's say he gets hired by Houston. What happens to this lawsuit? Is it still valid? Like I don't understand. Like how does that work?
Well, one, I never thought that he was getting a Houston job, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
After the whole entire,
it would have made so much sense though.
No, it won't though, because after the whole Bill O'Brien incident, and then the fact that he essentially helped to try to incarcerate his own quarterback. Who taking that job? Nobody's buying it.
Why would it? But that's why it makes so much sense for Brian Flores to take it, because nobody else is going to hire you because of what they heard in Miami. You're going to be able, a guy like Brian Flores is going to be able to talk to Sean Watson into staying, hey, look, you know what? Screw this owner. Screw what's been going on in the NFL. I'm with you. Stay here. We're going to win some football together and maybe even win a Super Bowl together. It would have made so much sense for Brian Flores to go to Houston.
As a head coach?
Yeah.
With what quarterback? David Mills?
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson not playing for them ever again.
And if Brian Flores would have went there, Deshaun Watson would have stayed.
Not a chance in hell. You just try to put me in prison for things that you try to put me in prison and help get me put in prison for what? I'll never play for you. And he said that.
But that story disappeared.
Yeah, I bet you it disappeared. And they're trying to smooth things over with Deshaun Watson. He's not playing for them. And the longer they wait, it doesn't hurt Deshaun Watson because he's still working out, getting himself together.
Did you believe any of that stuff about Deshaun Watson for a minute?
No.
Me neither.
And I think my reason for not believing it is some of the stories, like I have a tendency to look at big time court cases that like they little like transcripts and stuff, and I'm reading some of the details and I'm like, what? Like one of them said that, oh, he had me come over to get him a massage, and she said that he got completely naked when I told him to only take off this. I felt uncomfortable, but I still gave him a full body massage. Well, hold up.
Dude, I've had plenty of massages, and not once have I ever not been told, and they tell you this before every massage, get undressed as comfortable as you want to be.
Yep, as comfortable as you want to be.
If that's naked, it's naked.
But see, some of the stuff.
Now look, I'm Irish, so I wasn't comfortable being naked. But that, Deshaun Watson, he might be comfortable being naked.
Wow.
Now,
stereotype there.
It's just little things though. It's like little details that didn't stand out to me. Like I pay attention to certain things. Yeah, and little details is what I pay attention to. Like certain people you just can't get around, but he was one of them. Now I see Go Lions ask a question about did Leftwich get the Jags job. He did, but he's refusing to take it because he does not want the Jags general manager. He wants former safety and Cardinal Adrian Wilson to be his general manager. And apparently,
how the hell did that? Wait, what?
You don't get to pick and choose your boss? Come on.
You don't get to what?
Well, me,
is that a real story, Luke G?
I'm not.
That's real.
That's what's being reported over in Jacksonville's.
I thought they named him as coach already.
So Because remember they named him as coach, then they said, well, not quite.
He said, I'll be the head coach if I get to bring in my own GM.
No.
Okay, cool. Go back to Tampa Bay.
His thing wasn't that if I get to bring in my own GM. His thing was, I want a GM who understands the way I want to move this team. And he does not trust the current GM. Now, keep in mind, one thing about Byron Leftwich.
Nobody does.
The one thing about Byron Leftwich is the same thing by Maurice Jones-Drew, by Fred Taylor. None of these former players like this general manager. And so they're all staging a mutiny. I'm not doing anything with that man there. And so I think he's looking at it. He doesn't feel that this guy is going to get him the things that he's like, if I'm going to get my first head coaching job, I'm going to get it where I have a chance for success, not failure. I cannot blame him for that.
No, I mean, you always want to.
Yeah, but that's gonna. Success, right? You don't think that's gonna cost you a job further along down the line?
It won't, because he has other options.
Does he though?
He has other options. Oh. Yeah, he can. He can.
Byron Leftwich has other options. Why?
Yeah,
Let me ask you that. Why does Byron Leftwich have options? What has Byron Leftwich done in this league that shows that he was the offensive coordinator for Tom Brady? And Tom Brady ran that offense and called those plays. Why exactly does Byron Leftwich have it certainly wasn't for what he did as a quarterback in the NFL.
Oh, wow, you went there. Okay.
I just did.
Okay, so here's why he has options. First things first, we all got to start somewhere, right? And as a coordinator, he has been successful. Even though you see Tom Brady, he was there before Tom Brady got there. So let me just kind of give you some history on Byron Leftwich.
Give me those 50 interceptions. Go ahead.
I'm gonna definitely give you those interceptions. Go to Jameis Winston, right? And Jameis Winston that year threw 30 for 30, right? He was the first one to give you 33 touchdowns and 33 interceptions. Yeah. Right. Yep. And you say, oh man, that's terrible. He had all those interceptions. And
I didn't say it's terrible. I thought he was a top 10 quarterback in this league.
What?
He was the best quarterback on the Saints last year with Drew Brees.
Well,
this is not the first time you're hearing me talk like this, Suki. I've said this for a long.
But sometimes things catch me off guard when I hear it again and I forget.
He's a top 10 quarterback in this league right now when he's healthy.
Okay, so when we get off of here, let me know who the supplier is so I can join you. I just want to know.
Name me one quarterback his last year that he got a full season in, which was his last year in Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. Name me another quarterback that year that threw for 5,000 yards and 30 plus touchdowns.
Andy Dalton.
You can't.
First of all,
because the list stops with Jameis Winston.
We know it wasn't Andy Dalton, but this is my point I'm trying to make to you about Byron Leftwich. We certainly know Andy Dalton didn't do that. He came nowhere close to it. However, the season prior to that, he had 19 touchdowns and 14 interceptions, then 19 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. So he's always been a spotty player. The difference was this time was they created a system that allowed for him to kind of showcase his arm. And then he got a chance to go over to New Orleans and kind of, sit and learn from Sean Payton. I don't want to say he necessarily had to learn from Drew Brees, but he learned from Sean Payton. And he got to hone in on some of his skill sets. And obviously this past season, he had 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and then he got hurt at the 7 games. But nonetheless, Byron Leftwich has been known as a good offensive coordinator and has shown signs of that. And the offense of the Bucs were getting better and better, and that's with Jameis Winston and multiple injuries at the time. I think why he has so many options now is because once he went to the Super Bowl with Tom Brady and they won it, he was already coming up as a hot name, because one thing about Byron Leftwich that was getting around was the other players who came around him was talking about how much they love Byron Leftwich, how cool he was, how much they think he'd be a great head coach. They would love to play for him. And when owners hear stuff like that, it perks those ears up. It gets them excited. It's the same thing that they heard about Dan Campbell. There was a few people that came out before Dan Campbell even got hired by the Detroit Lions a whole year prior, where there was openings out there, and said that Dan Campbell's going to make a great coach for somebody. The players love him. He can get them to play for him. Lo and behold, he did. The Lions had one of the worst records in their history, and yet those players until the end of the season played hard every single game. I've never seen anything like that in Detroit history, where from beginning to end they just was unyielding. Even in blowouts, they was unyielding. So Byron Leftwich has options because Right now, a lot of people are trying to find lightning in the bottle, and they think they can find it with offensive coordinators, and he's one of the hot coordinators.
Okay, hold on. Let me, because I gotta go. I gotta process this, Luke G. Byron Leftwich as a quarterback was 24 and 26.
Okay, Combs
threw 58 touchdowns to 42 interceptions. And then you go to his coaching career. He was an offensive coordinator. His first year as an offensive coordinator was the Arizona Cardinals in 2018.
Okay.
The Arizona Cardinals were 3-13 that year.
Yep.
Then he goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wait. Don't skip over. Don't skip over just yet.
What
was the record prior to him going to the Arizona Cardinals?
The 2017 season, I believe they were. I want to say they were 5-11, but I'm not 100% sold on that. I'm looking it up right now.
Also, 2018 wasn't the year that they
were third place. They were 8-8 in 2017.
All right, so they were 8-8, and I believe they fired. What was his damn name?
They fired their head coach after like 5 seasons. It was
no, Bruce Arians was the coach of 2018.
No, he retired. Did he retire or something?
No, Bruce Arians was the head coach in 2018.
Yeah, he retired or something for like medical purposes or something. Or
Bruce Arians did?
Yeah, like he retired on them. He said he had like it was something medical. I'm almost sure it was a medical issue. Okay,
hooker problem.
All right,
got it.
But my point is, so they're 3-13 under Byron Leftwich. Their offense is terrible. Then he goes to Tampa Bay. Their offense is suspect. A lot of bad play calling. Then Tom Brady comes to Tampa Bay. And then there's a lot of bad play calling as Tom's there. And most, notably is that Tom took over the play calling halfway through the season because they weren't getting anywhere.
He never took over play calling. What he did
was... stop it.
No. What he did
was...
Hold on. What he did was he collaborated with Byron Leftwich, and they came up with a script that allowed for Tom Brady to kind of help and having plays that he wanted to audible into. It wasn't like he just came up with the offense on his own and said, we're running in such and such and such. You're going to run. No. It didn't happen like that.
Okay, so basically what Luke G is saying is like, I'm going to call the play, but if you see something different, you call your own play out there.
So basically Luke G said, hey, here's your menu. I recommend the spaghetti, but you go ahead and get whatever you want. And Tom was like, I'll take the burger. So like
that's exactly what happened.
Like that's exactly. And now Byron Leftwich has people out there. Look, if I'm a fan of a team, which I am, if I'm an owner of a team, though, I'm hesitant because I need to see more from Byron Leftwich without Tom Brady before I give him a head coaching gig. I just do.
Now, listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. I never said I thought that he should be a head coach. I said he has options. Okay, I'm with you. That's a different conversation. I don't want him to be my head coach, but I get what you're saying. I'm just making the point that look, in reality, a lot of people looked at his first season with the Cardinals and said that was Steve Wilkes. They blamed it on him, and that's why he got fired after that year, right? And then after I want to say it was like 2019.
Luke, people are calling you out in the chat, man. Crockbox Sketty throwing stuff at the wall, hoping it sticks. That's kind of how it's like. That's kind of how it feels here. But let's because I saw a comment here in the chat, and 2 questions that I want to ask here is one. These questions aren't from me; they are from the chat. I forgot who asked it. But what does Brian Flores get from this lawsuit if he wins it? Which 83% of the people in the chat says he will not.
Okay.
He won't.
Here's the thing. My grandmother told me this a long time ago, right? R.I.P. Grandma. She told me this a long time ago. She said, son, somebody planted a tree years ago for you to be able to appreciate that shade today, for you to be able to take in the oxygen that tree produces today.
Yeah.
Sometimes the person who starts the thing never reached the benefits of it, and it's in life. It's been that way all the single time, right? Like the life that your parents had was going to be a little bit more difficult than the life that you had. And then when you have children, they're going to have a better life than you because you're planting trees for them to benefit from it. his benefit is not about that. His benefit is to one, even if he don't win, but it changes the way NFL do business. He'll forever go down as one of the legends and one of the first people to step out and say, do it. It's one of the reasons why we still praise Rosa Parks, even though she was hired to sit on that bus. It's one of the reasons why we praise her, because it was enough to get the thing started.
Right.
You don't always reap the benefit of it, but it's about planting a tree now for somebody to benefit later. So that's the benefit he gets from it. He's changing something, and he understands what he's doing. And if he wins, he's really gonna go down in history as a legend. And if he loses, he's still gonna go down as a legend, because guess what? He got it to change.
Yeah. And look, that's extremely well said, Luke G. We've been going at this for an hour and 45 minutes now, no break. We've just been kind of going. One thing that I wanted to get into tonight, and I promised my boy Hoffy we would get into this tonight, and I want your guys' opinion as well.
Hoffy sucks.
Okay. Completely different subject. Tom Brady retired. I don't know if anybody heard.
Really?
Tom Brady retired yesterday officially. He announced it on Instagram. And Patriots fans were up in arms because his 6 or 7 page letter on Instagram did not thank the New England Patriots or their fans or Foxborough Stadium or Kraft or Belichick. And I don't know about you guys, but I spent 15 of the last 20 years in New England. And when I tell you that there is no fan base that is more full of people I just want to punch in the damn throat, it's the New England Patriots.
On a stepladder.
That fan base is absolutely terrible. I'll take 2 stepladders on top of 2 stepladders. I'll climb that and punch them right in the throat. Patriots fans are the absolute worst. So Tom Brady retires from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2 years ago, when Tom Brady left the New England Patriots, he put out a post on Instagram as well, and it was titled "Forever a Patriot." And he put this long farewell speech into the Patriots fans, thanking them, saying how he'll forever be a Patriot, how much he owes to the New England Patriots. Now he retires, and he says thank you to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He says thank you to all their staff, thank you to all his teammates with Tampa Bay. And Patriots fans are crying. They're up in there. Oh, I don't ever want to see Tom back in New England again. He's not a Patriot. If you ask, you guys are freaking morons.
You know what it is.
You guys are stupid.
You know what it is, Combs, right? I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is. These are the people who broke up with their ex, and the ex got a better looking person with more money and a better car, and they're pissed. And that's what it is. And the reality is this: those same fans can talk that trash. I see it a lot in Detroit, but those same fans can talk that crap when Tom Brady goes to the podium for his Hall of Fame speech and don't even mention the name of the team. I.e., here's looking at you, Calvin Johnson. So when he does that, then get pissed off. And until then, relax.
Well, that's the thing. Like, do you if you're like New England Patriots fans are so pissed off, what are they going to boom when they retire Tom's jersey?
Nope,
are they going to boom when he comes back to New England? No, they're not. But they want to talk all this crap because Tom Brady didn't say, "Oh, thank you, New England," on his retirement speech, because he didn't retire from New England. He retired from Tampa Bay.
And also the other thing is this: those same fans who are hurt are still upset and angry because he left New England in the first place. That's the only problem it is. They're angry that he left in the first place. But
these are the same fans that run the Buccaneers fans wearing the Buccaneers jersey now too. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, the same guys that are complaining on the radio are the ones with the half Brady, half Tampa Bay, half New England jerseys on during the Super Bowl last year because they're a bunch of freaking homers. They don't even half of the damn Patriots fans don't even know who their quarterback was before Tom Brady.
Who was it, by the way?
You know,
stupid.
Drew Bledsoe.
I'm just playing.
Oh, the reality is this though. Most of those fans who are complaining, and I hate to say this, this is gonna come off real bad, but I'm gonna do my best to keep it clean.
Don't.
Most of the people who are complaining are 20-year-old people who are generally fans of a player, not a team. If you look at most old school people, we're fans of teams, not players. We can love players, we respect players, but when they come into our house, the respect is over. I hope you lose against us every single time. But to me, I've seen it happen on my own team too often, where they've turned on Barry Sanders because he was rest to go. They turned on Calvin Johnson, even though people said, well, Luke, you turned on Calvin Johnson. I said, no, I made the point. He signed a contract and violated the contract, and business is business. Give me my money back. They could have asked for all of it back. They asked for the least amount they could to help their cap out. So, yeah, I don't get it. And then when they turned on Matthew Stafford, only to then turn around and be like, Matthew Stafford's so great, he's making the Lions look so bad. And I'm like, nope, not having it. You said he was a trash and a stat pattern, and he didn't do this. And I kept telling you, you got to give him.
Dan Orlovsky taking laps on first take every day or get up.
He's supposed to.
It cracks me up because he's like, look, I had Matt's back. I told y'all, Matt, and I just crack up. I'm like, if you were as good at being a quarterback as you are at having Matt Stafford's back, you'd still be playing.
But you know what's crazy about that, though? You know what's crazy about that? He was never going to be a starter. He was always going to be a backup. And the reality is this. Dan Orlovsky is right. How many times have you ever told somebody something over and over? Like I've told my friend's a Cowboy fan, right?
Yeah.
And I told him, if you had a gave Barry Sanders the offensive line that Emmitt Smith had, there isn't a rushing record in this world that could have ever been. He would have been the Tom Brady of running back.
He might have said it in one season.
No, he wouldn't.
He might have said it in one season. Yes, he.
What?
Buck.
No.
Buck.
No.
Don't.
No.
Let me ask you a question.
Do it. Look, don't make me defend the Detroit Lions. goddammit.
I saw Barry Sanders play in high school. No.
Buck.
Highlight tape. Not the actual game.
Buck,
I was not allowed
Buck,
yet.
I feel like you've been chewing tobacco laced with something, and I don't want you to do it. Okay, don't do it, Buck. Okay.
look. Let's redirect this conversation before Buck goes down a path that's gonna make me want to throat punch him.
Almost had me. He almost had me.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. So let me ask you: a couple years ago, Tom Brady said, "I'm not retiring. I'll retire when I suck." Was Tom Brady just tired of waiting to suck?
No, I thought Tom Brady was
he was defeated. Yeah, he was done.
I thought Tom Brady was digressing, and I know people are going to say, "Oh, you
really?"
Yeah, they're going to. Okay, so I'll give you a perfect example, right? Somebody will look
46 touchdown, 5,300 passing yards.
That's the whole season. Look at the last 3 games.
He led the NFL in both.
Yeah. I hear everything you're saying. You're not going to get me to argue with you on your view, but I'll show you what I mean by he was regressing. Can you name to me just the last game, the last game where Tom Brady has had multiple turnovers?
NFC Championship game versus the Packers. He threw 3 and still won the game.
Yep. And and then on top of that, I think he had
Combsy stat.
Stuff.
Tom Brady has never lost a playoff game when throwing 3 or more interceptions.
Listen.
I mean, look, if you have to throw 3 interceptions to win a game, throw those 3 damn interceptions. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So here's where the regression comes in at for me. So obviously you figure, okay, he's got all the touchdowns, he's got the yards and stuff. But there were games where I'm watching and I'm like, we lost because of Tom Brady. And that hurt to say. To be like, damn, I lost this game because Tom Brady couldn't get it right. I'll give you another example. Go to the championship game that they just had against the Rams. I understand Tom Brady was under duress and everything like that, but usually vintage Tom Brady, what he would do is he would make audibles and adjustments so he doesn't take constant hits and the routes are not long. He wasn't doing that this time. He was literally just laying down like shit. And balls were selling on him, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, he ain't running nowhere. So I mean that part is obvious. But he would sometimes have like games where it'd be the tale of 2 tapes, and I'd be like, oh, that was the first half, and here's the second half, and like
championship game.
I mean, like that game he had against New Orleans, right? Like I know he got sacked 4 times and stuff, but like you couldn't find the end zone at all. Them passes were grossly wide left and wide right, and I know the analytics people, the stat people are going to look at it, but look at the game,
right?
Just look at the games.
Eye test, right?
He was off on a lot of these passes that I'm like, he usually don't miss that.
So, first of all, go Lions. Thank you for being very active in the chat tonight. But as soon as you guys brought up Tom Brady, He throws in the chat GOAT, GOAT. If you want to see
you want
to talk about the most overrated quarterback in the NFL, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. He can literally. They are wanting to replace Tom Brady with Jimmy G. Jimmy G's a game manager. That's all Tom Brady was, baby. He was a good game manager. He was a great game manager, and managed himself into do some Super Bowls.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but that's what he was. He was a game manager.
Exactly.
Best at it.
But Luke, you've been on for 4 hours tonight, man. I'm sure you are ready for bed. You are wore out. Colmsy.
Are you out of your ever-loving mind?
Yeah. No, I'm not. Luke agreed with me, Combs. You are the outsider. Come on.
You got...
Sit this out, Combs. We're up against it.
Man, our nation. Leave these idiots alone. Rise up.